Hello students.
Now in previous video we have seen there are infinitely many primes. We have proved that thing. Also we have proved the theorem that there are arbitrary large gaps between two prime numbers. Now here let us see some definitions and also we have to see the test for divisibility. I just want to revise those things, but the definitions are the new one. So the first definition is of perfect square. Perfect square number. Perfect square number. Now what does it say? An integer n greater than 1 is, this is what a definition, sorry for that. An integer n greater than 1 is called a perfect square if there exists a positive integer a such that n equal to what? A square. N equal to a square. Now for example, 100 is a perfect square. 100 is a perfect square because this 100 can be written as what? 10 square. Whereas 20 is not a perfect square. 20 is not a perfect square, as 20 is not equal to any a square, where a is what? A is any integer. Fine. Now next definition is of square free integer. Square free integer. Now the definition is what here? The definition is an integer n greater than 1 is said to be square free integer if 1 is the largest integer. If 1 is the largest integer, whose square divides n. 1 is the largest integer whose square divides n. For example, look at here. 10 is a square free integer. 10 is a square free integer. Now why does this? Look at now the divisors of 10. What are the divisors of 10? Divisors of 10 are what? 1, 2, 3 is not, 4 is not, 5 and what? 10. Now among these this 1 is what? The perfect square number only, as 1 can be written as 1 square itself. Fine. But the other divisors are not the perfect square number, and as what? And this is square free integer, as 1 square divides what? 10. But the 2 square doesn't divide 10, 4 square doesn't divide 10. So 1 is the largest integer whose square divides that n, then that n is known as a square free integer. Now the other example, if we take this 50, 50 is not a square free. 50 is not a square free integer. Why does this is not the square free integer? What are the divisors of 50? Divisors of 50. What are they? This is 1, 2 is not 2 is there, 3 is not there, 4 doesn't divide 50. Fine. Now 5 will be there, then 10, then 25, and then 50. These are the divisors of 50. Now here what happened? 1 square divides 50 and 5 square, that is what? 25. 25 also divides what? 50. 25 is also perfect square number, 1 is also perfect square number. So these divides 50. Now here what does this say? 1 is the largest integer. Only 1 is the largest integer whose square divides n. Then and then it will be a square free integer. But here 5 is the largest integer whose square divides 50. That's why 50 is not a square free integer. 1 is the only one whose square divides n. Then it will be a square free integer. This is the case here. Now it is not possible always to determine the divisors and check whether they are the perfect square or the square free integers or not. So for avoid this query, let us write one remark to decide the number is a perfect square or a square free integer. So let me write that remark here. So the remark is that remark is let n greater than 1 be any integers, then the canonical form of n is it is a product of prime numbers with some power, that are p1 raised to alpha 1, suppose p2 raised to alpha 2, and so on up to pn raised to or pr raised to alpha. Suppose r primes are there. Fine. Where these p1, p2 and so on up to what? pr are distinct prime numbers. If this is the case, then first thing, n is perfect square. Now when does it perfect square? Perfect square if power of all primes are even. If these all alphas are even, then n will be a perfect square. That is, all alpha I is even for all I from what? 1, 2, so on up to what? r. All alphas are what? Even. Then we can say n is what? A perfect square number. Now second thing, n is square free integer. N is square free integer if alpha I equal to what? 1 for all I from 1 to r. If all alphas are 1, then it will be a square free integer. Now as we saw the example, look at there. Now if I want to write the as we see 100 is what? Perfect square. So if I want to write 100 in a canonical form, then it will be 2 into 50, then it will be 2 into what? 25. So that will be 2 into 2 into 5 into 5. So we know it can be written as 2 square into 5 square. So here look at these are what? This is alpha 1, this is alpha 2 here. They are what? Even. So it is a square, perfect square number. And another one, look at here, n is a square free integer. So for that we have taken the example of 10. 10 can be written as 2 into 5. This is a canonical form of it. 2 and 5 both are prime. Here this raised to 1, here also raised to 1. So it is what? A square free integer. Fine. So this is a very easy way to check whether the number is a perfect square or the square free integer. So remember this remark to check the number is perfect square or a square free integer. Now let us see the test of divisibility. Now you have already gone through them, the test of divisibility. In school also we have many times we had learned that part. So I just revise them. Test for divisibility. Test for divisibility. Now what the first test will we take for 2? Test for 2. You know the number is divisible by 2 or the integer is divisible by 2 if and only if the last digit is divisible by 2 or the last digit is from the number 0, 2, 4, 6 and 8. An integer n is divisible by 2 if and only the last digits, if and only if the last digits is divisible by the last digit, I can say, I must write digit is divisible by 2. That is the last digit should be what? Last digit is what? 0, 2, 4, 6 or 8 is among these one. Fine. Now the second thing, test for 3. Test for 3. This test for 2. So test for 3, you know, if the sum of the digits of n is divisible by 3, then we say the integer n is divisible by 3. Integer n is divisible by 3 if and only if sum of the digits of n is divisible by 3. Divisible by 3. Now the next thing, test for 4. Test for 4. Now for the test for 4, simply we have to look for the number formed by the last 2 digits, that are ones place and tens place. An integer n is divisible by 4 if and only if the number is formed by its last 2 digits. Number formed by its last 2 digits is divisible by 4. Is divisible by 4. Fine. Now the next one, that test for 5. Test for 5. You know, if the ones place has the digits 0 or 5, then it is divisible by 5. Or the last digit is divisible by 5, then the number is divisible by 5. An integer n is divisible by 5 if and only if its last digit is divisible by 5. That is, last digit is 0 or 5 only. 0 or 5. Now the next one, suppose test for 6. Test for 6. Now an integer n is divisible by 6 if and only if it is divisible by 2 as well as 3. If it is divisible by 2 as well as 3, then it is divisible by 6. An integer n is divisible by 6 if and only if it is divisible by 2 and it is necessary, it is divisible by 2 and divisible by 3. Divisible by 3. By both. It should be divisible by both, then it will be divisible by 6. Now the next, test for 9. Test for 9. Now here an integer, the next one, I think 6th one, an integer n is divisible by 9. It is just like a divisibility test of 3. Divisible by 9 if and only if the sum of digits is divisible by 9. Divisible by 9. Okay. Now the next one. Now here I left the test for 7, test for 8. Now the test for 7 is also what? No, that the number is divisible by 7 if the number formed by last 3 digits is divisible by 7. Then test for 8 is what? It is again the same, just like a divisibility test of 6. If the number is divisible by 8, then it must be divisible by 2 as well as divisible by 4. Then test for 10, we can say that it is divisible by 2 as well as divisible by 5. Now mostly you should remember the test for the prime numbers. So here let me take test for 11. Now till this one at least you should remember. An integer n is divisible by 11 if and only if the difference between the sum of digits, at even places, sum of digits at even places, and sum of digits at odd places, and sum of digits at odd places is divisible by 11. is divisible by 11. Now suppose, let me take an example here. Suppose we will take the simple thing. Let me take 121. Now this is the 0 place or the ones place, then tens place, then 1000 place. So this is 1, 2, 3 I will consider. Suppose 1, 2 and 3 places. So sum of the digit at even places is only 1. This is 2. Now, and the sum of digit at odd places. Sorry. Now sum of digit at odd places, this is 1 plus 1 will be what? 2. Now if the difference between these, so subtraction, so what we get? 0. Now 0 is divisible by 11. So what can we say? 11 divides 0. 0 is divisible by every integer. So here we can say 121 is divisible by 11. As such we have to go for the test for 11. Now next, now after this, at least till this divisibility test you should remember. Now after this, let me take the definition of congruence. This is our second chapter we will start. Actually it is given in as a second chapter, but these are all the things are related to each other. So if you want, you can consider it as a second chapter, or you can continue this part, congruence. Already you have learned this word in first year BSc. You know the basic definition of congruence. Now the definition is, what the definition says, let A, B are what? Integers, and MB non-zero integer. MB non-zero integer. MB non-zero integer. If M divides A minus B, if M divides this subtraction between A and B, then we say that A is congruent to B modulo M. We denote it as what? A congruent to B modulo M. Now if M doesn't divide A minus B, then we say that what? A is not congruent to B, or A is not congruent is same as incongruent to B modulo M. Now we denote it as how does it will be denoted? A is not congruent to B modulo M. A is not congruent to B modulo M as such. Now let me take an example here. Now 10 congruent to 2 modulo 4, as 4 divides what? 10 minus 2. How much 10 minus 2 is what? 8. 4 divides 8, so it will be the 10 congruent to 2 modulo 4. Actually, when we divide 4 by 10 is divisible by 4, that time the remainder is left, that will be written here. Fine. So here, now if I write 15 congruent to, now I have to write modulo 4 suppose. Now you know, when we divide 15 by 4, then we get the quotient will be 3. So here the remainder will be 3. So we get 15 congruent to 3 modulo 4. That is same as to say 4 divides what? 15 minus 3. Again the next one, suppose I will take minus 15. Minus 15 congruents to what? Now look at here. 4 divides minus 15. Suppose here we get minus 3. So it will be minus 12. It will become plus. So here the remainder will be how much? Minus 3. So, but the quotient won't be negative. So if we want quotient positive, so what we should write here? Quotient should be positive. So here I must take 4. So it will be 16. So it will be plus 16. So here minus 15 plus 16. So that will give us 1. The remainder will be what? 1. So here we get it is 1 modulo 4. As 4 divides, look at here, what does the 4? It will be minus 15 minus this. Minus this means what? It will become minus 16. Minus 16 is divisible by what? 4. Fine. Again, similarly, if I take, similarly I can write minus 15 congruents to what? Minus 3 modulo 4. If we write minus 3 as a remainder, as I show here, so if we write minus 3 remainder, then we should write 4 divides minus 15, minus minus becomes what? Plus 3 here. Fine. In that case, the quotient will be what? Negative, and the remainder is also negative. Fine. Now, 15 modulo 4. I can say 15 doesn't congruent to 1 modulo 4. Why does this? As 4 doesn't divide 15 minus 1. 15 minus 1 is how much? 14. 4 doesn't divide 14. So 15 doesn't congruent to 1 modulo 4. Again, 7 is not congruent to minus 2 modulo 4. As 4 doesn't divide what? 7 minus of minus 2. That is what? 4 doesn't divide how much? 7 plus 2 is that, so it will be what? 9. 4 doesn't divide, sorry, 4 here also doesn't divide. 4 doesn't divide 9, that's why these are not congruent. Now, from this definition, remember this, if m divides a minus b, a and b are what? Integers. M is any non-zero integer. M divides a minus b, then it will be written as a congruence to b modulo m. Now, from this definition, let us write some remarks, and then we will stop here. In next video we will see the properties of congruences. So now remark. This is one of the very important topic. You should learn these things clearly. So if you have any query, you can ask me on WhatsApp or on Google Classroom. Now a congruence to b modulo m. So it will be what? M divides a minus b. This is our definition. Fine. Now the same one can be written as, by the definition of divisibility, this can be written as a minus b is equal to m into some integer, where k is what? An integer. Again, this is same as a is equal to what? B plus mk, where k is again an integer. Fine. So this can be written as such. Means here a is what? The linear combination of b and m, we can see. Now here the second remark I will write, a minus b is divisible by m, is divisible by m if and only if a minus b is divisible by minus m also. Divisible by minus m. So in general, actually we will take only positive m. We won't take a negative m here. In general, we consider In general, we consider only positive n. Remember this. Now in next video we will see the properties of congruences, as I say, and the theorems in which we use those properties also. Thank you.